Right. So in this center-state relationship, it's important topic. Okay, center-state relationship. So here we will be studying the legislative relationship. So far we have discussed all the different tiers and administrative system. So part 5 says the union government and part 6 talks about state government. So now India is a federal relationship, right? As a federal system. Okay, so there is a relationship between center and state. So what is that relationship? That is your center-state relationship can be understood under legislative relationship, administrative, financial, and emergency provision. Is that okay, guys? So legislative relationship means the power of making law and how it is distributed, etc. Administrative, implementing those laws, financial and emergency provision. So first, let's talk about the facts that you need to remember from center-state relationship. So center-state relationship is dealt under part 11, part 12, and then emergency provision, which I will be discussing along with this, is dealt under part 18 of the Indian Constitution. So part 9 of the Indian Constitution deals with legislative and administrative relationship. Part 12 of Indian Constitution deals with financial relationship. Articles 245, 263, 264, 300A and all that is there, but it's okay. You can just choose some of the important ones to be remembered. Otherwise, everything is not necessary. Similarly, part 18 of the Indian Constitution deals with emergency, article 252 to 360. Some of them are important here also. So first we'll start with the legislative relationship. So legislative relationship between center and state is dealt under part 11 of the Indian Constitution from article 245 to 255. Deals with what? The legislative relationship. They should see why this is provided in our constitution is to reduce conflict between the center and state. India is a federal system, so therefore the powers have been divided between center and state, and there should be no confusion between the two, so that tomorrow you should not say that this is my power, why are you doing it? Like how neighbors who don't like each other keep fighting. It should not be like that. So this has been defined in the constitution itself, what is your power, so don't have any problem in the future. So the legislative relationship can be understood under these four things. One is the territorial extent, the distribution of the subjects, power of the parliament to make law on state subject, and center's control over the state legislature. So the first one is territorial extent. If you understand territorial extent, meaning the laws that are made is applied to which territory? The laws that are made is applied to which territory? So who makes law? Parliament and state legislature. So the parliamentary law is applicable for the entire country. So parliament has the power to make law for the entire country. In all parts of India, okay, comes under the parliament. So you can make law on entire country. No part is exempt. Then, whereas the state legislative assembly can make law for that state alone, for that state. Jurisdiction of the state law is that particular state, unless there is any direct connection with the state. Okay, so the state jurisdiction law is made within that. Okay, or Karnataka law is applicable only within the boundaries of Karnataka. Is that okay? That's a territorial extent. What about if a law is required for territories outside India? Let's say high seas, outside India, in the sea, piracy is happening. Okay, and Indian ships are being attacked. Indian travelers are being attacked. But that attack is happening outside Indian territory. Let's say if somebody has to make a law to punish them, to bring them back, to negotiate, etc. Who can make law? It is again the Parliament. So extraterritorial jurisdiction is with Parliament. Parliament can make law for territories outside India as well. So is that okay? Territorial extent. So there is no difficulty in this. Center will make law for the entire country. State can make law. So whenever there is any dispute, they will go into that and say that, see, your jurisdiction is so much, don't do more than that. Similarly, distribution of legislative subject. It's very clear. Okay, the 7th schedule of the Indian Constitution has 3 lists. What are the 3 lists? Central subject, state subject, and concurrent subject. Central, that is Parliament alone, can make law on central subjects. State legislature alone in normal circumstance make law on state subject. Concurrent subject may both of them can make law. And then you have something else called as residuary subject. Residuary subject are those subjects which are not listed in any of these 3. In the future, may we come across something which we have not expected and which we have not mentioned in our constitution. Let's say alien comes and lands in Bangalore. Who will make law on aliens? That's not mentioned in the constitution. Nobody thought aliens will come. But let's say Bangalore, it came and landed. Okay, and now who will make law? Okay, our state legislature will say, no, it's in Bangalore, we will make law. Parliament will say, no, we will make law. So we will then look into what? The constitution. When we'll see the constitution, we will see the 7th schedule, alien. There is no alien mentioned anywhere. So that is a residuary subject. So residuary subject, the power to make law on it is with the Parliament. The power to make law on residuary subject is with the Parliament. So Parliament will say, see, it is not mentioned anywhere. So I have the authority to make the law. So if you look at this picture over here, you will find the list of subjects, some of them important ones. I'm not going, not so important, but at least you should be aware of them. So defense, atomic energy, foreign affairs, war, banking, railways, post, telegraph, airways, ports, currency and all that. Who does it? Union list. Is that okay? Similarly, you have the state list. So agriculture, police. So police, law and order comes under the state subject. Prison, local government. We saw 73rd and 74th, and after that enactment of law. Public health, land, liquor, trade and all these things. The power to make law is with the state in normal circumstance. There are exceptional cases where Parliament can make law even on the state subject. Then we have the concurrent list with both can make law. Like education, both center also can make law, state also. See, our state law has made law, passed rules with respect to doing that, to doing this. Same way, Parliament also can make laws. Similarly, property and agriculture, forest, okay, Wildlife Protection Act, etc., like that. Trade and union, adulteration, adoption and succession, etc., where both of them can make law. Now you can ask, when both of them are allowed to make law, which law will prevail? Both are laws enacted by competent authority, power derived by the constitution. Let's say Parliament also makes laws. State also makes law. Which law will prevail? So parliamentary law will prevail. The law which is made by the Parliament in concurrent subject will prevail. However, there is an exception. The exception is that, please hear this carefully. When the bill was passed by the state legislature, the governor reserves that bill for the president's assent. Concurrent list mein, let's take forest. So Karnataka government made a law. Karnataka government made a law on forest, which is a concurrent subject. And the governor, instead of giving assent, he reserves it to the president. I told you, under certain circumstances, the governor can reserve the bill for president's assent. So the president has given the assent. The president has given the assent. So a law made by Karnataka which got assent from the president. Later, the center also makes law on forest. Now, what did I tell you? In normal circumstance, parliamentary law will prevail over the state law. The exception is if the state law has received assent from the president, such a law will prevail over the central laws. Understood? Yes? So, if the state law and central law is conflicting with each other in a concurrent list, correct? Which will prevail? Central subject will prevail, except if the state law has received the assent of the president. In such cases, the state law will prevail. But again, there is a condition here. Even then, the parliament can enact law specifying that even though it has received president's assent, we will supersede it. Even in such case, parliament can enact additional law to give the central law more power. Confused? So normal circumstance, parliament is law will prevail. Only if the state law has received the president's assent, it will prevail. But even then, parliament can enact additional law to give superseding power to the parliamentary law. Okay, so this is with respect to concurrent. Now with respect to residuary power. For example, I have given here, I talked about alien just to make it funny. But otherwise, cyber law, internet. 1950 when internet was there? No. So nobody thought about internet and nobody put it under any subject. Yes, we do it under the telecom. Over here we have. So many of it is regulated under the Telegraph Act. You will be surprised. The internet, social media, okay, and all that, privacy, etc. Those are all regulated under the Telegraph Act, 19 something. It is, 100 years old law. Okay, anyways, so now we are enacting new laws. That's a different thing. So cyber laws is a residuary subject because it was not listed in any subject. So therefore, the parliament is empowered to make law on such subjects. Okay. So at present, there are 100 subjects in the union list, 61 subjects in the state list, and 52 in the concurrent list. 52 in the concurrent list. Is that understood, all of you? So this is with respect to the distribution of legislative subjects. So all this you should be able to understand because they can ask questions like this. So who can make law outside the country? It is the parliament. Distribution of legislative power, center, state and concurrent. Residuary power is with whom? The parliament. All right, next, power of parliament to make law on state subject. So the constitution under certain circumstances gives power to the parliament to make law on state subject. Under exceptional circumstance, not normally. Okay, so the 5 conditions under which the parliament is allowed to make law on state subject, this can be asked specifically, right? So first, when there is national emergency. National emergency. So when the national emergency is in place, okay, the parliament is empowered to make law on state subject. And the validity of such law is 6 months. It will come to an end. The law will come to an end automatically 6 months after the end of national emergency. So it's not a permanent law. It is only exceptional condition when you need it. Temporarily, you make a law. Parliament will make a law. It will automatically come to an end when 6 months after the national emergency comes to an end. When we do national emergency, I'll tell you what all, how, etc. So let's say today the national emergency ends. Automatically the law comes to an end after 6 months. Okay. Next. So this is national emergency. Next, state emergency. State emergency. That is also called as President's Rule. So when the state is under the direct administration of the center during the President's Rule, even then, so when there is a President's Rule, the state legislative assembly is dissolved, meaning there is no state legislative assembly. So that means there is no body to enact a law for the state. So who will make law for that state? Parliament. I will explain to you again simple word. Now Karnataka legislature is there, Vidhan Sabha is there. So let's say Vidhan Sabha is dissolved and President's Rule is enforced. So there is no Vidhan Sabha to enact a law. Karnataka needs a law. Who will make that law? Temporarily, who will make that law? Parliament will make the law. Parliament will make a law. So during state emergency or during President's Rule, the Parliament will make law on state subject. So what is the validity in this case? It is valid until the state will revoke it, until the state withdraws it, until the state withdraws. See, all these are points that you have to remember. See, I'm not going into like unnecessary things. What is actually necessary from the exam point of view, I'm explaining. So during state emergency, Parliament makes law on state subject for that particular state, and it will be valid until it is withdrawn by that particular state. New government is formed, the new legislature is formed, and the legislature decides to withdraw it, only then it is withdrawn. Otherwise, it will remain in force. Then, third one. When Rajya Sabha passes a resolution, when Rajya Sabha passes a resolution, so Rajya Sabha has the power to pass a resolution which requires special majority, that is 2/3 present and voting. If Rajya Sabha passes a resolution with 2/3 majority for the Parliament to make law on state subject, so this resolution will say we give the power to the Parliament to make law on state subject. So when that resolution is passed, Parliament can make law on state subject. Parliament can make law on state subject. I'll repeat. Rajya Sabha first has to pass a resolution by special majority. It empowers the Parliament to make law. Then the Parliament will make a law. Law making is same, what we discussed, first reading, second reading, then goes to second house, then gets precedence, and the procedure is the same. But the power is given by the Rajya Sabha, and then the bill is introduced in either of the house, then it finishes first house, goes to the second house, finishes the second house, goes to the president gives assent, it becomes a law. But that to start, the Rajya Sabha has to pass a resolution. Now, till what time this law will remain in force? The validity of such resolution is 1 year. It has to be extended every year by special majority. The law will remain in force up to 6 months after the end of the resolution. All this is important, it's confusing, but it is important for you to remember. So a resolution is passed. The validity of the resolution is 1 year. Validity of the law is 6 months after the end of the resolution. So what's the maximum? What is the time period? 1 year plus 6 months. So the law will remain in force for 1 year plus 6 months. It can be extended indefinitely, but the resolution has to be approved every year by a special majority in the Rajya Sabha. So every year, if it is extended like that. Why? Again, because it's an exceptional case. Let's say COVID happened, health is a state subject, and we need a law to be made for even the states. States, there is too much confusion happening in the states. So Parliament will say, we will make law temporarily till the COVID situation is over. Did I make sense? So in such case, Parliament can make law. Next, fourth one. When two or more state request, when two or more states requests the Parliament to make law. So Parliament will make law, but that law will be applicable to only those states which has made the request. Is that understood? Last one, and that will remain valid forever. Okay, and those states would have given up the power to the Parliament forever. They cannot again make law on that subject. Okay, now Karnataka decides that you make law on this subject. That power is given off to Parliament, and state does not have the power to make law on that again. And last one, to make law to enforce international agreement. To make law to enforce international agreement. Let's say Prime Minister goes to some country and negotiates with the people of that country, with the country or with an organization, signs an agreement, comes back, get it approved by the Parliament. Now, that subject matter, however, lies with the state. So, Parliament will make a law even on that because it has to enforce an international agreement which we have committed to implement. So, we cannot wait for the state to make a law. In that case, Parliament itself will make law. Okay, we'll end at that. Tomorrow we'll start with the executive relationship, and then we'll go to the financial relationship and emergency. We'll try to cover all those things tomorrow.